not sure of how much have you seen of what I've been doing here on the platform, Talking Slop, aka Talking Shit.
Totally cool.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. I support it 1,000%.
Nice, man. It's actually inspired by, some of the conversations I had with Baba as far as, taking and pushing things into the next gear, getting us seen and heard on various platforms. And originally, intentionally wanted to host, he was going to be my first guest on the show. But yeah, man, as it is, as you know how it goes. But with that said, sis, it's an honor to have you on here, simply because out of the last series of times that I brought the brother over to the UK, on the very last occasion, it was like, next time when we come, we're going to bring Sister Acacea.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's such a great honor. I really give thanks for Baba, good friend, taught me so much, but I appreciate it. I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah, man. He spoke highly of you. He definitely reminded me that when I do what I do over here, that I need to keep you in mind. So I will continue to do that as and when the barriers open up or the borders open up and so forth. We can get exchanges going on. I'll definitely keep that, keep my honor to him, my word to keeping those connections and those spores spreading, man.
Thank you. That means a lot. If you just say that, I appreciate it.
Sure.
1,000 times.
So, sis, we're gonna get into it. This is Talking Slop, man. There's no format. There's no structure. We just dive in. I have a few reference points. You know what I'm saying? I have a few reference points, and then we'll just see how we go from there. But how I normally kickstart is just by asking the person to share who they are, and I'm going to piggyback off the back of that and just start rolling.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm Acacea. I was born Acacea Brianna Sherman. I give thanks for my parents for that. I couldn't have chose that name. I actually used to hate that name for a long time, but I really give thanks. I have a mom who also had visions and experiences, I guess, before me. So I work with entheogens, but I used to be a college kid in Dallas. I was a bad kid. I was doing entheogens when I was a teenager. Going to different Eternal Harmony gatherings and rainbow gatherings when I was a teen. Had my own motorcycle. I thought it was pretty cool back then. But I started getting introduced to people and start researching different things that were associated with my name. And that's how I got deeper into this whole thing, is like, well, what's an acacia? So, that's kind of been my journey, is just trying to figure myself out and find aspects of my culture and my roots and my history by linking up with my ancestors, finding out more about my ancestors through entheogens and more about the culture and cultures that have impacted what the finished product is, who I am today, and also sharing research with other people who have a curiosity in things that people like to call secret. So that's pretty much me. I'm a researcher and I like to take entheogens.
Nice, man. Thank you for sharing. There's a few things that come out of that already. But what I would like to identify with is that you mentioned, well, hey, my name's Acacea. I was born with that name, and you've been looking into that name as in what it means for you. I think that's really important, regardless of what your name is, as far as, any individual out there, just knowing the tones, the powers of your name. So because I'm aware of the connections, even, I'm sure many people in the community misspell your name like I did initially, because you hear the name and you make the association. So what could you share about your name, just out of curiosity and just for the sharing?
Well, my parents spelled it wrong just because they didn't want it to be associated with the Acacia fraternity, actually.
Right.
My parents are from Indiana. So, at IU University, I guess there was a fraternity around the 90s when I was born. And So my parents named me Acacia because of the town, actually, not even because of the plant. There was a town that the Israelites took shelter in, apparently, named Acacia in the Bible. And that's what my mom named me Acacia for, at least so she thought, you know. I was a bad little kid on Google one day, and I was like Acacia, and I spelled it with an I one time by accident, and I found DMT and power plants and trees, you know, and I got a bunch of pictures of this weird umbrella shaped tree. And, you know, I kind of had this inkling. I'm like, well, if I ever take that entheogen, then I need to be at least mature enough to be able to work with it, you know, properly. I don't want to mess up that kind of introduction, because I felt, you know, it would be important for me to try it, just because I was named that. So it took me until last year to actually work with it, after almost I don't know, probably 8, 9, 10 years with other entheogens. You know, I really wanted to save that for my last. So, you know, the first thing I was kind of, I guess you could say, interested in is why the acacia was a tree of knowledge, and why there was some kind of interest in the Akashic records. That was my biggest thing. I was like, okay, well, what does the Akashic records have to do with the tree? And the mushroom answered that question for me pretty quickly. You know, I started off on what many consider to be like a heroic dose of mushrooms. I started off on 7 grams when I was a teen. And the first thing that I would see are these, you know, doors, you know, and in this space, you know, I'd look at the ground and I'd see a mandala open up, and that's like a temple. And at that time, my visions, they're like, man, you had a great trip. And I'm like, yeah, but what does it all mean? You know? And I felt really lost at the time, because, you know, there weren't a lot of people in the community of Houston that I was in at that time who were also studying entheogens. You know, I found Baba on YouTube, and he was just, you know, a light in the darkness for me. But it took me a while to even find his work. So it was me, you know, opening doors in strange places on mushrooms, and finding out, you know, I have access to what some people would have considered maybe like a priesthood, or like a priestesshood, I guess you could say, that deals with sacred books and sacred writings and information in general. But it seems like I was born with access to a certain place. You know, a lot of people are, depending on if it's in their genetics. So that's the first thing that I started exploring is, well, what's what's the quantum entanglement between my name and my soul? That's what I wanted to know. And what's my job in this whole thing? Who am I? Where am I going? You know, how am I going to get there? And my first love was the mushroom, and I talked about it a great deal. And until I met Baba, I really didn't have anyone to talk to about it who seemed to have any answers for me. So yeah, it's been quite an adventure. I found out that I have the ability to store information in strange places, I guess you could say, in my consciousness. And you know, when I ask my friends about it, they're like, oh, you have Asperger's, you have a form of autism. And I used to say that to people a long time. And then I actually just realized that, you know, I'm just different, and that's okay. You know, and the mushroom helped me to accept myself, and to learn how to communicate in a way that actually helps people, instead instead of just confusing them. So
Mm-hmm. Wow.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing, man.